Now, it gives me great honor to introduce our first guest speaker this morning. That is what has become a good friend, certainly, Nick Dodds, who is very committed also to the events industry at large, and also to IFEA Europe, has been serving as a past chair of IFEA Europe, or is a past chair of IFEA Europe. Nick was working for a number of years in Brighton, running the Brighton Dome and the festival down there. Moved on to establish FEI, Festivals and Events International, as an independent consultancy, where a number of people are helping to build communities, explore different ways for festivals and events and arts venues, etc., to develop and serve their communities. And was most recently working for the London Cultural Olympiad. Or is that how the phrasing was, Cultural Olympiad? Yeah. Which we all know was a great success. On the other hand, it probably represented a whole lot of challenges. And I'm sure this morning Nick will share with us not only the successes, but also the challenges he was dealing with in making this a great success for London, and indeed for everyone who is visiting also from abroad. So please give me help in welcoming this morning, Nick Dodds.
Thank you. It's good to be back at IFEA. There are many meetings of festivals, events, people around the world, and the IFEA Europe is one of the most interesting meetings that I've been to, and I'm really pleased to be back here, and in Rotterdam too. Fantastic festival and event city. It seems extraordinary to me that it was 18 years ago that I helped organise the IFEA conference in Edinburgh, Scotland, with Charlotte DeWitt and Brian Leishman, and at least one of those people is in the room, so it's great to be back amongst old friends. So, let's get going. As Alan says, my name is Nick Dodds, and I'm the Managing Director of a company called Festivals and Events International, FEI. We operate from the UK as consultants and project managers to the international events and festivals industry all over the world. Last year, members of the FEI team were fortunate to work on the London 2012 Olympics. And personally, I was contracted to LOCOG, the London Organising Committee of the Olympic and Paralympic Games, to act as their Chief Operating Officer for the Cultural Olympiad. And it's the story of the London 2012 Festival that I'm here to tell you today. And I think we should get out of the way straight away that I'm not going to be talking about the ceremonies for the London 2012 Olympics. That was a fantastic thing that we were all deeply proud of in the UK, but that's not the story I'm here to tell you today. It's London 2012 Festival. So in 2005, when London won the bid to present the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games in Singapore, we promised that this iconic event would include a great cultural programme involving people all over the UK. When we were asked why we were going to do this, we quoted the example of the Olympic Games in ancient Greece, which included artists as well as athletes. And early games in the modern era also included artistic competitions, and as recently as London 1948, artists were awarded medals alongside the athletes. So that was the reason we thought it was important to have a cultural programme, and indeed many of us in the cultural world feel that one of the reasons that London won the bid was the promise to put culture at the heart of the Games and to present a cultural Olympiad of a scale and an ambition that had never before been attempted. So when the Beijing Games ended in 2008, we embarked on a 4-year cultural Olympiad. Our vision was to have a world-class cultural offering at the heart of the Games that aimed to bring the Games to the whole community, the whole country, presenting across the country a wide cultural programme that attracted new audiences to thousands of free events and enabling people to join in. That was very important, that everybody in the country felt there was some way they could join into the Olympic Games. And in many ways the Cultural Olympiad achieved those aims. more than 18 million participants and attendances took place at events over those initial years. But we did find that 4 years was a long time. It was a little bit ambitious in the end to sustain interest, and there were many issues that came up. Those British people in the audience will know this when I tell you that there were issues a couple of years ago about leadership, about direction of the Cultural Olympiad, about the issues of quality programming versus participation. And after a couple of years into our Cultural Olympiad, there was a lot of concern in the sector and indeed in the media as to where we were going with our Cultural Olympiad and what would happen in 2012. Would we be able to put on a good enough show when the Olympics came round? Now, I think the details of the ins and outs of this debate are perhaps not very interesting to reflect on from this distance, but fortunately we found our way out of the problems that we were facing when the Cultural Olympiad Board, this non-executive board of directors, was set up in mid-2010. And this board reported as a subcommittee directly into LOCOG, the organising committee. And that was an important feature of our Olympic Games that perhaps some other cities haven't come up with. This subcommittee was made up of major players of the cultural industries in the UK, and it was chaired by Tony Hall, who was the chief executive of the Royal Opera House in London, and it brought together all of the cultural institutions, the main players across the country, into this board that were going to then direct the Cultural Olympiad. And like a good board, it did the most important thing it can do. It hired a very inspirational director, and it hired Ruth Mackenzie as the director of the Cultural Olympiad, and she started work in late 2010 and started to plan the finale then of the Cultural Olympiad, the London 2012 Festival, which was a 12-week celebration right across the UK. And I've got a short film now just to show you, to introduce you to that.
Summer 2012 is here, and alongside the Games is a once-in-a-lifetime celebration, the London 2012 Festival. With thousands of events across the UK, from Radio 1's amazing Hackney Weekend, to comedy from Eden all the way to the Fringe, with artists from around the globe. Along the Thames, a river of music and breathtaking events that light up the skies. The Rio Carnival hits the streets, and with the biggest celebration of Shakespeare, award-winning filmmakers, and extreme acrobatics in the city, there's something happening every day for 12 weeks. The stage is set. This is your invitation. Take your place at the London 2012 Festival. Book your spot now at london2012.com/festival.
Well, that went out of sync, didn't it? Still going. So I'm not sure what happened there, but you get the idea anyway. So I've planned my presentation this morning to cover how we delivered the festival, operations, marketing, fundraising, all the things that I'm sure you'll be interested in. But I've also wanted to talk quite a lot about the creative themes of the festival, then to end with the results that we achieved, and to talk a little bit about what we think the legacy of the event might be. So first of all, operations. When Ruth Mackenzie was appointed as the festival director, she had less than 2 years to pull together what turned out to be the biggest programme a festival ever attempted in the UK. And that, of course, is a very short period of time. So although it was a curated festival where Ruth the director decided what was in and what was out, she recognised from the start that the only way that we were going to be able to deliver a festival of this scale in that time scale was to work in partnership with existing cultural organisations across the UK. There simply wasn't time to set up a fully functioning festival organisation that both produced and presented the work directly. And indeed, it would probably have been extravagant to do so because, of course, we were a one-shot event. We weren't going to be doing this again and again. So partnership working was the obvious way to go. And it turned out, I think, to be one of the key reasons for the success of the event. Nearly everybody felt involved in the success of the project, and that was a really important part. Especially when times got difficult occasionally, we did feel that we had the support of the sector behind us. So all of the festival projects were delivered by partner organisations, and we had over 200 separate producing partners who presented the programme. Now you can imagine 250 partners is a pretty big operation to coordinate and to organise. Just the legal agreements that were put together for that were enormous. So where tickets were sold, these partners ran their own box offices and took the financial risk on the projects, and that was an important principle to understand when I'm talking through some of these projects. There were some 600 different projects in the 12-week festival in over 1,200 venues across the UK, so absolutely enormous. And this resulted in something like 13,000 individual performances or events, of which about 2/3 took place in London through mostly the big exhibitions that took up a lot of those individual events, and then 1/3 across the rest of the UK. So Local didn't present anything directly, but there was often a thin dividing line between us not producing something and actually producing it. So Ruth would often have the idea of something that she wanted to put on. She'd go out and discuss it with an artist, she'd fundraise a lot of the money, and then she would have to go out and find a partner to produce the work for us. So to say that it wasn't the festival director's idea would give you the wrong impression.